Alright, so today I actually got lucky enough to beta test Konami's new Cross Duel game for the mobile device. Playing on the iPhone 11, so you know it's fresh. I'm just starting out from the introduction screen here. I was just really interested because I play a lot of group duels with my friends, and I was wondering if this was anything like it. And as it turns out, I've played for the past, week and a half, and it's very close. So you see here we have the home page. We have options like ranked matches, tag duels, which is going to be your typical one-player mode. It kind of reminds me a bit of actual Duel Evolution, which isn't a terrible game, but with the lack of support, it doesn't really do much. But Konami's been really good with their mobile support, so I'm hoping that this game will get that same amount of support that it needs. Room matches, which allows you to pair up with specific people and play games, so you could technically play those group duels from across the US or across the world. And then raid duels, which are actually a really neat concept involving just battling out against a boss monster of the week. And it's very interesting. I'll show you a little bit of that later. So a lot of the thoughts I had involving this game sort of revolve around the gacha system, where you can draw up to 10 sets of cards at a time. I'll actually do a preliminary draw just to show you what it looks like. It gives you this nice little animation where it just speeds you through, and then you just kind of hope you stop on a card. Ooh, that rainbow one looks nice. Go. Nowhere near. Damn. Okay, it's fine. So you see, you get 3 cards per pack, and you'll get typically a spell, a monster, and a trap, no matter what. The top row is usually always spells, second row is usually always monsters, third row is always traps. Now, as you can see, every time you obtain cards, your duplicates go to the card vault, and any new cards will pop up above it. Because I've played this game for about a week, and they kind of limit the amount of cards they let you do during this beta test period. I have all of them are being moved to the vault. So if you hit home, you come back here, and I'm going to actually show you the card vault. So this is just showing you a catalog of all the cards I've picked up, along with the quantities I have them. Now, the thing about this game is that it's Highlander format, so you can only play one copy of any given card. However, any additional copies you have can be traded in to upgrade your monsters, and I'm going to show you that screen as well. So this screen's actually a little bit different. It only has monsters on it, and as you can see, you scroll all the way down, no spells, no traps. Now the monsters, as you can see, are all start out as vanilla monsters. Even monsters like Utopia, Stardust Dragon, Junk Warrior, all of them start out as vanilla monsters and then change their card type based on the attributes you give them. So for example, I'm going to go ahead and select the Dark Magician. Now each monster has their own specific skill tree with different kinds of effects that you can give the monsters when you build your deck. They vary from attack boosting to defensive debuffs. A lot of monsters have special skills that require specific materials to unlock. But like Dark Magician, you can activate a spell to burn your opponents for 200. Which doesn't seem like a lot, but in a duel where you're starting with 4,000 life and it's not once per turn, it continuously pings, it's very interesting. The other thing about this format is that, let's say I want to unlock this spell down here, this wizardry. If I hit unlock, it will unlock every other skill before it. Now, because it's further along the path, it'll unlock both paths before it unlocks the special skill, but that's perfectly fine because typically you want to just, go through unlocking as many options as possible. And I'm going to show you that a little bit later. So we'll go to edit deck, and I'll actually pull up a deck I edited just prior. Now you select your ace monster. Your ace monster tends to be, you probably want it to be a super rare and ultra rare, something that you can have multiple slots attuned to it while also having probably a cheaper amount of input. So Summon Skull's special skill actually allows you to pull defense to make all defense position monsters lose 500 defense. It's really handy because in this game, whenever monsters battle, their attack and defense deplete and they stay depleted. So if my Summon Skull attacks your Giant Soldier of Stone in defense position, your soldier will be destroyed, but Summon Skull will have 500 attack afterwards. With Summon Skull's skill, he'll have 1,000. He also has the skills where he has a defensive debuff, where if he attacks a defense position monster, he loses an additional 3. And then immune to negative status effects, which I'll cover a little bit later. And again, when you're customizing monsters, there are a variety of different attributes you can give them. You can make it so that your monsters do piercing damage. You can make it so that your monsters burn your opponent when they destroy monsters in battle. You can make it so that your monsters reduce the attack of your opponent's monsters when they're destroyed. Very Yu-Gi-Oh-esque effects. There are even effects like Karma, where when a monster is destroyed, it returns to your hand instead of going to the graveyard. Now, an interesting thing about this game that I really like is the fact that Konami did try to introduce keywords into the game. And you think of, when I say keywords, you think of keywords in Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're thinking to yourself, well, there's burn and there's piercing and things like that. But in this game, keywords kind of work like they do in like Magic the Gathering, where you have a specific thing and then instead of it being different depending on the deck you're playing, is a very specific, it does one thing, it always does one thing, and you'll never have to question what that phrase means. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start a tag duel. Now I'm going to change my deck to the sample deck that I've made. Your ratios don't have to look like this. There are a lot of different ways, but you see how in the top right corner it actually specifies the monsters that require no summon materials, the monsters that do spells and traps. It's important, and you'll see why in a bit. Now the beta test doesn't have any kind of draw power. There are no draw spells in the game yet, which is unfortunate. Card advantage is solely reliant on your skill and your skill alone. So right now, this is the tag duel screen. I assume at some point you'll be able to swipe this icon up and down so that you can choose different series to play off of, and then it will show you your rewards in the right hand corner. I think this is nice. However, I feel like you could easily put the awards in the different screen with your vault rewards, and it'd be perfectly fine. The screen also lets you choose your deck and your tag partner. I find that your tag partner doesn't really matter as much if you build their deck for them, and on default they'll typically just be using a copy of the deck that you're playing as well. I picked Jaden because they only have the first 4 protagonists and Kaiba, and of the 5 I prefer Jaden. So I'm just gonna play a quick tag duel. Yep, we only have Yami and Seto available, so we'll play against them. So this is typically how the duel starts. You always start with your ace monster in hand, and then you'll draw up to 5 cards. You have two phases. You have main phase and battle phase. The main phase is important because this is the only phase where you're allowed to summon monsters. Similar to rush duels, actually, you're able to summon as many monsters as you want with no limits. You can tribute summon, etc. and as soon as you're done, you hit ready. You can't place spells in the main phase. So once the main phase is done, all the monsters summon, and then they move on to the battle phase. Now, the battle phase is when traps automatically activate, or spells are activating, skills, etc. And mind you, the AIs are actually the enemy AIs are really good, but the AIs that they give you for your partner are very questionable. And if you actually play on auto battle, your AI will actually be way worse. So ideally, you want to pay attention for the tag duels until you've beaten them the first time. After that, it kind of doesn't matter. So you saw right there, once movement was underway, no battles took place, so the turn ended. It then shows you the life points scores, and it goes to the main phase of the next turn. Now, typically in a tag duel, you want to attack your opponents, which will be across and to the right of you. But if you put a monster in the zone going to your tag partner, you'll actually heal yourself. Hopefully they'll let it get that far, but we'll find out. Oh, he really wanted to put that white dragon head in attack mode, you see. So we're just gonna go ahead and we're gonna boost their Needle Stun Fisk using our Mask of Brutality. And then once we hit ready, movement begins. Now right here with this battle, even, oh, he can change my battle position, I didn't know! Okay, note that their skills are almost always underneath the monster itself, so never make rookie mistakes like that. Pay attention to your opponent's monsters and skills and things. Now, a lot of the time, the game will play out for you if they're computers. I always recommend putting on this speed up because it will take forever if you don't. That being said, you see how monsters are automatically destroying and penetrate triggers, and that allows me to do damage to Yugi directly, even though he lowered my attack. And I also like how all the monsters have cute little animations after the fact, because it kind of gives it that personal touch. You see a lot of movements in the anime that you don't really get in the Duel Links, but you do get them here, and it's actually pretty neat. Okay, so my monster's attack is actually pretty low, so I'm actually going to go ahead and summon the Summoned Skull, attributing the one that's attacking. In the meantime, I will also put my Skull Kraken in defense. You have to be very careful with how you move how you place them, but you can always change their battle positions once you set them. It is not locked until you hit ready. Now they're all ready to go. And a good thing to note here is you see how quickly the game's going. At least the tag duel portion specifically, because of the fact that it gives you a speed up feature, which again turns a game that could take maybe 10 minutes into one that'll take maybe 3. Now that's one thing I would, not again, I fell for it a second time. Now, you have to be very careful because, the AIs at the highest level will get you, but they shouldn't get you as well as they've been getting me today, apparently. Now you see that because my monster made it all the way to the other side, we gained 500 life. Thus, we're still ahead. And the whole point is to make sure that by the time that we're done, by the time the duel is over, that we're ahead. We're gonna go ahead and put him here. And we're gonna hope that he doesn't just, oh, he sacrificed it. Oh, son of a bitch. Anyway, now when your opponent summon their ace monster, you get these neat little effects, especially when it comes to like the OGs, your Dark Magician, your Blue Eyes. The Blue Eyes is actually really sick. I love that right there. And the game has some voice acting, but not a lot. I don't think it matters that much. A lot of times you'll probably be playing this on mute anyway, unless you're playing it on your computer. You just have to be, but it is a nice touch. Now I know this looks bad because, we're like low-key getting mollywopped. But on the bright side, because my Ojama Yellow Hat Karma just came back to my hand, so I can just replace it. See, look at that, Neos. Now, things I want to point out while I'm just kind of letting the game do its thing. Certain spells and traps in this game have different effects than they do in the TCG, like wildly different. For example, you have cards like Compulsory Evacuation Device that normally would only be able to send one monster back. In this game, depending on where you place it, it can actually send multiple monsters back and completely upend the duel depending on where you put it. A lot of things that involve destroying your opponent's monsters when they destroy you turn into like loss of attack points or not being able to move. You just have to be very careful. In fact, I just drew Compulse and I don't know where to put it. Now I'm gonna actually put it here because I want to point out that if your opponent's monster is already in a spot, it won't trigger the card that you set. And another key thing about this game that you're seeing right now is card advantage. I don't have any. I'm top decking this entire time, so I'm taking a massive amount of damage because all the cards I have are just kind of, either already in the graveyard or they're already out and attacking. So really my only hope here is that, oh no, I think we're dead here actually. Yep. Yep. And mind you, even if we're dead, the gameplay still movement still continues. But no matter how much damage you do afterwards, once your life hits 0, it stays at 0. This is going to speed on through. And that's a wrap. Now, even though you lose, you still get yourself a little bit of tag points and reward points. You get this thing called Trust, which allows you to gain rewards based on your buddy. I don't really pay attention to it, but I'm sure it's something that maybe they'll fix upon and maybe focus on in a different, when they're working on fixing this game up. Now I want to go ahead and focus on a raid duel, because the raid duels are actually really cool. Now you see here that you have different ranks depending on how many times you've won your raids, your cumulative rewards for your raids, and the current boss for the season. Now you see that the current boss is Rise. Rise of the Storm Monarch is a terrible card to deal with because all it does is put your cards back in hand. And especially with the beta test, with a limited number of people playing, if you don't have enough people playing in your raid, they replace it with computer players. Computer players are not the best, and as a result, the bosses tend to target your monsters. I'm actually going to do a beginner one because I have not cleared intermediate. The boss does not play. So it'll take a couple, it'll take maybe 5-10 seconds to search for opponents, and if it doesn't find any, it'll give up. Now, I don't know how they deal with the matchmaking feature. I don't know if they do it by rank. I just kind of hope they keep it just full on random for the most part, because sometimes you can't get past a certain thing without a person who's had a lot more of the monster skills unlocked to help you out. You have to be very, very careful.
Get your game on.
Yep, I got all computers. Look at that.
Duel.
Alright, so now I'm using a different deck that actually features Neos as its raid boss, as its ace monster. And all the monsters actually have anti-raid skills or anti-monster or skills specific to raids. Now, raid bosses can do things from summon objects to put up shields. It's very similar to a Gigantamax raid in Pokemon. It's really odd how many different games they've kind of incorporated into this one. But it's interesting because, once again, you just have to make sure that whatever you're doing doesn't affect your teammates in any way. And again, if you send your monster to deal with a teammate, you gain life, and so on and so forth.
Whatever you do is gonna be sweet.
Now, I don't know how much of the unfairness you're actually going to see with this because, with it on beginner, the raid boss shouldn't do too much. But the goal is to deal the damage to the raid boss, as you see on the top left corner there. Completing the goals in the top left usually put the boss in a submissive mode, and that allows you to deal extra damage to the boss and let you actually win the raid. It is nigh impossible to win a raid if you don't actually put them into that submissive mode. It's very unfortunate, and that's the reason I actually haven't been able to beat intermediate yet. So you need to be very, very careful when you do it. He can even summon little mini boss monsters to go out and fight you. And each boss also has a weak point. So, for example, Rise's weak point is in the back. If you attack him from the back, you actually do double damage. But no matter where you attack him from, all monsters on the field are destroyed once they've attacked, unless they've destroyed an object. So you see, the monster that attacked the object in the top right corner, that one was destroyed. But the two monsters that we sent to destroy the object in the bottom left, those two are still there because the object is destroyed. Now Rise is facing me and he's hitting me with the windy thing. And yes, it hurts. And I also like the fact that they're using the kid from the OCG Structures manga, even though they don't want to animate it.
It's the main phase of the second turn.
So now that we're attacking, let's see. That's a weak point. Let's use that and see if he'll let me actually hit him. Now the raid bosses can also use spell cards that buff their attack or summon more monsters or put your monsters back. depending on what lane they're in. So you need to be really careful about the lanes that are highlighted, and you need to be very careful about which monsters you're putting on the board, because they will go based on which monster has the most skills, which monster has the most stacked skills, and you have to be very, very careful about what you and your teammates are putting out there. Let's go ahead and boost with the Horn of the Unicorn.
Nice move.
Since, you know, he's just gonna let me smack him in the face.
Go get him.
Now the thing is, because a raid battle is supposed to be live, they don't have a speed up function. So the raid battles are a little bit slower because it's trying to allot for the time that it takes for a player to think. So if you don't have a very stable connection, or your teammates don't have very stable connections, this could be a very troublesome mode for you. But it is worth it. It's a lot of fun once you get the hang of it.
Take this.
And you see, you know, because I'm doing damage, the bar on the left is filling up rather quickly. You also still need to beat the raid in 8 turns. It doesn't change from doing regular cross duels.
That one hurt.
And you know, he'll also re-summon these objects every now and then. So you have to make sure you manage the things he puts out. He has a shield up on the far side. That guy has to destroy that. So you have to be very... Ooh, I don't think I wanted to put him there. It's okay. We're just going to go for a shield, and we're going to set one in case he sends a free monster this way.
It's gonna be sweet.
Now note how all of the other computer duelists have one card in hand and it's their ace. It's because the computers don't understand card advantage. You have to be very careful about that when you're playing with them, because of the fact that they'll just throw their monsters out there.
Go get him.
And, you know, once all their monsters are gone, they're basically sitting there doing nothing, like I was in the last game.
All right. Take this.
Now note how even though he did damage to the shield and broke it, there was no damage done. You know, just keep in mind that, you know, you want to be able to send shield breakers to break those shields quickly, because otherwise no damage will be done and you'll just be wasting turns.
That one hurt.
So I'll admit that at least when it comes to the more intermediate raid bosses,
Wonder what you'll
you want to be able to have monsters that stack their raid abilities, so that you're taking out multiple object life points and multiple shields out at once.
no monsters are heading.
So now I'm going to go ahead and send X-Head Cannon out there
Whatever you do is gonna
to smack him right in the left side.
go. Move on to the battle phase.
Now, note how he has Storming Mirror Force, so he's actually bouncing back the monsters that are attacking that in my lane back to my hand. But I don't have anything additional to do.
Go get him.
So as you can see, we're about halfway done. All of our hands are depleted, every single one of us. He still has about 5,500 damage to go before he's broken down, and he's still summoning objects to keep us at bay.
Wonder what you'll
So
draw.
now
It's the main phase of the 5th turn.
we're gonna try it again. We're gonna go straight for the X-Head Cannon and the Avion to the side.
Good. Whatever you do is gonna be sweet. Go. Move on to the battle phase. I
We'll
can't
just let
wait
that
to see
go.
what happens. Go get him.
So, I guess while this is running, I'll also take a moment to talk about a couple more of the downsides of this mode, which is really just the speed and, the boss has a specific cycle, and maybe they'll fix this with other raid bosses. But, Rise in particular, it has a set set of moves that it does, but it almost always bounces a monster on your battle phase, and it almost always ends up summoning a creature. Now you see there we've cleared the goal to put him in that submissive phase. He doesn't attack, he just kneels, and his items get destroyed. The issue here is that I don't have a monster, but because you drew that goal, you get to draw 2 cards. Note that I drew a spell and a trap, which I can't summon. So I'll set one and I'll pass and hope that my teammates can cover for me.
Whatever you do is gonna be sweet.
Why did he summon Ojama Yellow when he can't do
On
damage?
to the battle phase. I can't wait to see what happens.
Hope this is enough.
See what happens.
It's like it might be enough. See, he's at 94, 56. I think it's short. Yeah, that was foolish. Oh, that's a shame. Was that 2,000? See, now he's had a turn to recover, you have to do the 15,000 damage all over again.
That one hurt.
Okay, this is still not doable.
It's the main phase of the 7th
Let's see.
turn.
He's going to increase the monster's attack by 1,000. The monster has 1,000 attack.
Watch out! You're in its sights.
It's 900. Oh, there really isn't much I can do here except that.
Whatever you do is gonna be sweet.
And no one's actually summoning to attack him. Which is why I say, you know, with the computers, they have a tendency to throw. And so, you know, maybe they'll adjust that for a little bit later. You know, you play accordingly. At the very least, I can stop him from attacking.
Nice move.
So in this game, rather than stopping your opponent from attacking, Swords makes it so that your opponent can't move, which is about the same. But if I send a monster up there to attack him, it wouldn't matter. Now this is the final turn, and as you can see, he's just on his high rate.
That one hurt.
Okay, perfect.
Keep it up. The last turn. Give it your all.
So here we just summon Ojama Green, we go straight into Neos, and we hope that's enough. In intermediate, this will be the part where he returns my monster back to my hand, and you just kind of cry a little inside because he just makes it say you tributed your monsters for nothing.
Here's elemental hero Neos.
God, he looks so cool.
Move on to the battle phase.
Alright, let's see what he's gonna do. He returns that monster to the hand. Oh, okay.
I can't
He should be
wait to see
fine
what
now.
happens. Go get him. Bingo. Bingo. Go Neos.
Oh, I think that's just enough. Let me just.
Take this. Neos has a lot more in store than this.
Now, this is another feature that you'll find is consistent. Even after the raid boss is defeated, they'll play through everything as if it still matters, including the skills that recycle cards to hand and things like that, even on the last turn. I feel like that's kind of unnecessary. Even if they do trigger, it feels like it just kind of prolongs the game more than it needs to. There's really nothing to avoid about that. I just think it's something that they should probably consider looking into as well. And then you get victory rewards, mainly the crystals that you use for summoning more monsters out of your gacha. Oh, we're so close to level 5. And we'll come back to the main page here.
Come on, what are you waiting for? Let's
And, you know, I'm just gonna go ahead and collect those as well. Okay, so that's more or less Yu-Gi-Oh! Cross Duel. My impressions of it are like mostly positive. You know, it's actually very fun. Especially it's one of those games where you can kind of sit down, you'll play a couple, and you'll keep playing until you realize you've probably sat on it for about an hour. I think it's very interesting that you can just kind of summon 2 to 3 monsters and just go YOLO dolo and throw them at your opponents. There's a little bit of a mind game element that I would show if I were willing to play against actual people in a recording, but it would take way longer than it should because, you know, you can't speed up you're not allowed to speed up any of the formats that involve player cooperation or players from other places. So really the game kind of drags a little bit. I think the monsters need to move a little bit faster because otherwise it'll feel like it's taking a lot more time than it should. A lot of my other praise comes from, I think the system's very unique. I think that part of the drawbacks to the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG is the fact that a lot of the game is very overcomplicated. After synchros came out, a lot of players looked at the game, especially with pendulums and link monsters, and they considered that the game was a little bit too complicated to play, and the game became really hard to teach new players. And I think that Duel Links was a good step into doing that, whereas cross duels are more so of a good way of making it so that you can play Yu-Gi-Oh! With your friends in a format that isn't strictly to Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. I also think that this is actually, it would appear to be in my opinion, more fun than Rush Duels. Outside of the fact that you can't draw 5 cards in a turn, I think that it promotes less of a luck element and more of a mind game. A lot of this is just kind of making it seem like you're not attacking certain people or helping certain people out so that you can get ahead at the end. And ideally, you kind of want to play less with that I want to be first place mentality and more of the I don't want to be last place mentality, because at the end of the day, if you're in last place, you don't get anything, but at least if you're in third, you'll get points for chests that you can open up and get more jewels or more materials that you can use to upgrade your monsters, so that you have a better chance next time of winning. Concerns of the game probably involve the fact that depending on the phone model you have, your phone might run a little hot. I would also say that it's not too draining on the battery, but it does take a notable toll, especially if you're playing it for long periods of time. I don't feel that the partner system doesn't really do much. I mean, it's nice to hear the characters every now and then, but it doesn't feel important. You don't feel like you're playing with any of your partner characters. But other than that, it's a solid game. I 100% am going to pick this up again upon release, and hopefully they'll let me keep my stuff, because it would be a shame to lose all of that. But that's about all I have. Hopefully when this game comes out, we have a little bit more diversity with what they give us, and hopefully they'll take some of this stuff into consideration when they fix this game up. I hope to see this really, really soon. I'm actually really excited to play it. So that's all from me. You guys have a wonderful day.